If you've ever made a 3D game, I'm 100% sure that you've used the game engine at least once. Even if you're talking about Unity, Unreal Engine, or even Roblox Studio, there's one thing in common that makes game developers consider using them in their next big AAA game that will never be finished. And that is, you don't really have to interact with most of the rendering. But what if you don't use the game engine? Well, you must code the whole 3D rendering system from scratch, but who in their right mind would actually do that? So today I made a RAYCASTER game with no game engine from scratch using just SDL2 and C++. But what actually is a RAYCASTER? Well, there are many ways to project a 3D world space onto a 2D screen, and one of them is taking the player and shooting rays from them in their field of view until they hit a wall. Now take the distance it took until they hit the wall to get the height of the wall, and boom! Now the player can see stuff. It doesn't really look like GTA 6 or something, but you got my point. I then give the player the ability to move and look around, and now they can inspect all the sides of the cube without any problem. If you go outside to touch some grass, which I'm clearly not, you'll most probably see that walls have textures. And that's something our worlds don't have. So I made a placeholder texture in Paint and put together a really simple prototype for drawing images on the walls. And now, if you start the game, I'm no expert, but I don't think that's how it's supposed to look like. And after stealing some code, it's now much better, but the code I stole is very unoptimized, so after a few failed attempts, I finally got it working properly. I also added a texture for the floor and ceiling, added some shading based on the distance from the player to the wall, and it's finally starting to look like something. In the end, I replaced the placeholder textures with some better ones that I made in Photoshop, and if you can guess what kind of game I will make, leave a comment. This project is nowhere near finished, and we still have a lot of stuff to do before we can even call it a game, but I'll keep you up to date with everything I do on this project. If you enjoyed this video and want to see how this project evolves, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe and turn notifications so you don't miss any updates. I've got a lot of features planned for this RAYCASTER game and maybe even a full game at the end. Who knows? Drop a comment if you have any ideas, feedback, or just want to guess what kind of game this will turn into. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.